making besties. So today I'm going to show you how I did the wood effect on the bottom tier and the little love heart on this cake. Now there's quite a few tutorials on this. I tried some of them. I couldn't personally get some of the techniques to work, not very easily. I tried probably 5 or 6 different techniques and actually didn't use any of the ones I'd found online. I kind of came up with my own, whether someone else has done it. Don't come at me for that, but someone else might have done it somewhere and I just didn't see that one. But this is the technique I came up with, sort of amalgamating a few different ones that I'd come across that just didn't quite work for me. I tried the wafer paper, the icing sheet, the paint, a few different other ones that I've seen online. So this is the finished panels and the finished cake. It was a wedding cake, and I also used some of the leftovers to make these lovely cupcakes that went along with the cake as well. So and there they are. I knew they were coming up in a second. So yeah, I'm gonna talk you through how I did it. So this is what the panels look like once we'd finished them before they were on the cake. Ignore my messy bench. It's just a picture I took while I was working. And I measured my cake to make sure I'd got enough as well. So that was actually half of them. So it's actually a 2-layer process. So this is the first part. I've got some sugar paste or fondant here that I've coloured a dark brown. Obviously you could do this in different colours. If you wanted to use a grey and a white, you could do that. Use your paler colour to go on top, and that's the colour we're going to make now. But I want it to have the same tones, so I'm using some of this dark that I've already made. This dark is for my underneath colour that we'll use later. So first off, we're going to start by using, this is what I made. I'm just showing you. It feels a bit like leather. It's a bit weird. But I'm just showing you how thin it is, and this is what we're about to make now. This is our first layer. So we're going to use a mix of 50-50 sugar paste, and I used a florist paste, but it's a really soft florist paste. So you could use a modelling paste. I'd probably say modelling paste over florist paste. Like I say, this one's not a true florist's paste. It's quite a bit softer. And it doesn't dry quite as hard or quite as quick. So we're going to use 50-50 mix of this. So we're taking a lump of our sugar paste that we've already coloured dark brown, or you can buy a pre-made one. I'll link a couple in the description for you so you can make a decision. I just like to colour most of my own usually. The only ones I don't normally colour is red and black because they're quite hard colours to get. Okay, so we're going to do a 50-50 mix of that one and the white florists or modelling paste. Again, I would just go with modelling paste personally. I would say that this florist paste I've used here is more akin to a modelling paste. But I don't want people to come at me in the comments going, oh, well, you said in the message that you should use modelling paste, but actually you use florist paste on the thing. Okay. Also, ignore my odd gloves, because, you know, that's just how I roll. I had one left in the orange box and I started a new box and they were black. So just deal with it. It's tough. So we're going to marble this. So I've made 2 sausages and I'm just rolling them together until I get the right sort of marbling. I don't want it to be really big marble. That sounds bizarre. I'm just sitting here laughing to myself. I want it to mix in quite well, almost be completely mixed, but just not quite. And so you won't see the marbling on the actual finished product. And then we're going to douse our worktop or bench or whatever you're working on in some corn flour. Never roll out on icing sugar. Not only does it ferment, it also makes everything sticky and it doesn't actually act as a very good barrier. You will roll out much better on corn flour. That was one of the biggest pieces of advices. What's wrong with me? Biggest pieces of advice. Can you tell I don't script these voiceovers? So yeah, that's the biggest piece of advice, or one of, that I ever got given. So we're rolling this really, really thin. I'd say roughly between 1 and 2 millimeters, really thin. And then we're going to lay it out to dry overnight, preferably, especially if you are using modelling paste. I've rolled it over onto itself there, but it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. This doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just stretching it out into the sort of almost final shape that I want. I'm trying to get as square as I can. but never quite get a true square with when you're rolling out anyway. So we're going to pop this onto a baking sheet. This is quite a large baking sheet. I think in America, if you're American, which I know a lot of my followers are, would be about a half pan. I think I'm just stretching it on there to again try and square it out a little bit. Okay, so we're going to leave that to dry overnight. And then when we come back to it the following day, we are going to knead our sugar paste and make it nice and soft. And then we're going to roll that out, and we're going to roll this really thick. I would say I rolled mine about 2 centimetres thick to begin with for this first stage. I don't know what that is in inches, sorry, you'll have to translate. Now this is a bark impression mat. This is the Katie Sue impression mat. I will link it for you down below. I have cut the edges off this because this is a closed mat, so you're limited to the amount that you can use it on. It's not never ending because you have to link it. And then I'm also using a Dresden tool. This comes in your standard modelling tools. I'll link some for you as well. I've still got the first set I ever bought and they're still doing me fine. So yeah, we're going to roll our dark sugar paste that we made to start with, or bought. If you're using ready done, don't worry, that's absolutely fine. And we're going to try and roll it into sort of a square oblong. A square oblong. I'm inventing shapes for you. How nice am I? A square oblong. What I've actually done as well is I've made a template of the width and height that I want. So here's one I made earlier, my little Blue Peter moment. Yeah, I've made a template basically. This is roughly 1.5 centimetres taller than my cake measures. Okay, and it's as wide as I decided I wanted them to be. Okay, and I've measured the circumference of my cake as well, so I know how many panels I need to make. So that's another calculation you need to make. Mine worked out to be 13. Okay, so I've made sure that my sugar paste, my dark sugar paste, is as wide as I want my tall panels to be tall. I hope I'm making sense. And now I'm going to measure the two pieces together, and we're just going to cut that piece that we prepared yesterday into roughly, it doesn't matter if it's not mega the same, roughly the same size as my darker piece. So this is the underneath piece, okay? And we're just going to slice off the extra. So you need to make sure you make plenty of these. I think I made 3 in total for my 13 panels. And then I'm steaming the top of my dark sugar paste. You can use a bit of water or edible glue. I had my steamer on hand. I'll link you one down below because they are really handy. If you don't have one, I use mine all the time, especially when working with fondant. I don't use it quite so much when I'm doing ganache cakes, which I do a lot of. If you follow me on Instagram and stuff, I'll link those down below for you as well. If you want to come follow me, that would be really nice. And tag me in your creations as well if you use my tutorials. That'd be really cool. Okay, so we are dousing our worktop in corn flour again, and we're going to pop our lighter shade, our marbled modelling paste piece on top. It doesn't need to be perfect, okay? I did also give my thinner piece an extra roll the day after. I just made it ever so slightly thinner and also easier to break because that's what we need it to do. And now we're going to hit it hard with the rolling pin, and I'm pressing really hard here. My rolling pin is a king pin. It's really heavy. If I can link it, I will. I don't know if you can get them on Amazon, but it's called a king pin. And basically we're wanting to really stretch out that top one and pull it, and you can just see at the top edge there, I'm pointing to my screen light, you can see it. And I'm just going to chop it in half because it's getting too long for my surface. Okay, and we're going to again push. We're trying to stretch that out and make it break basically. And I did 2 different types when I did this cake. I did one that was ever so slightly paler as well. Okay, and if you're not happy with the stretch, what you can do, and what I did actually do for this one, I'm pulling it apart now as you can see, is I folded it in half, which you'll probably see me do in a minute. And cue it. No, I'm not going to do it yet. I will do it. Just because then otherwise you're going to end up with your sugar paste too thin, okay? And you don't want that. So you can fold it over in half and then carry on stretching it. Here we go. Here's where I folded it in half. I knew I did it at some point. So yeah, now we're really forcing that stretch by folding it and folding it and folding it and folding it. And it does depend how thin you've rolled that top piece. If you've rolled it really thin, it will stretch and break easier. Different brands are going to react differently as well. Humidity is going to change it. It's really, really humid in the UK here at the minute. So that is making a difference to working with fondant and stuff. Things aren't drying as quickly. Florist paste isn't going off in a couple of hours like it normally would. Things like that, just so humid. So I'm just folding it again, and then I folded it over so that I get the squarest side on the side that I'm going to apply my impression on. Okay, and again, I'm just forcing that break, forcing it, forcing it, forcing it. Always trying to roll the same direction. So we're always going up and down across it, because I don't want my bark to be broken the opposite way. Okay, and I'm using my template to cut out my panels. So I've decided I'm happy with the amount of breakage and stuff that I've got on there for my bark. So I'm cutting out my panel, and I'm going to show you what I did next. So this bit's optional. If you get a really good effect with your bark, you might not need this bit, but I felt I wanted it. I wanted a really heavy bark look, so I did use my impression mat. And because I took those edges off, it meant I could do a bit and then put the extra bit where it was a bit too tall for the actual mat. Okay, and then we're just using the Dresden tool to force some edges so that it's not all neat and tidy, to make it look like bark. Okay, and then you could optionally also dust it if you wanted to. I didn't feel my panels needed it, as you'll see at the end with the pictures, and obviously at the beginning you saw it. So it's completely personal choice on that one if you want to dust it as well. So again, we're going again with the next ones. Like I said to you, forcing that break, making it give us the bark effect, which is what we're after. I found this technique to be the best for me and for what I was wanting to achieve. And you can obviously see from the end results that it really did come out really beautifully. I found it a much more simple technique versus doing the paint or trying to use the wafer paper. I tried both of those techniques in preparation for this because I knew it was a technique I'd not done before. So if I'm doing a cake where I know I've got to do something I've not done, I will always try ahead of time to prepare myself and try out the techniques. And I've tried out the technique and worked it out so you don't have to. And I, like I say, I honestly couldn't find much in the way of this technique or this look. And the couple I did find, I just couldn't get on with the techniques. I tried several different methods of applying the wafer paper. I tried several different methods and mixtures for applying. I don't know if you've seen the ones where you apply the white paint and then you wait for that to crack. I just couldn't get it to work. I tried lemon juice, vodka, all sorts of different things. Couldn't get them to work. But this technique came out really, really nice. And you could always, I didn't need to for my design, but if you wanted more depth of colour or things like that, you could certainly add highlights and lowlights to the pieces once they're dried, so that I'm jabbing it there. I'm like, get in there, get that pattern in. This is a really good mould actually for the pattern as well. Once you cut those edges off so that you're not restricted by the size of the original size of the mould. I'll link it all down below for you. I'll link some a set of modelling tools as well. I'm still on the first set that I bought probably 9 years ago. I've never had to replace them. The only thing I've done is upgrade a couple of like the ball tools and things like that for flower making, of which I did do on this cake. I didn't film that though, I'm afraid, sorry. There's a couple of videos on my TikTok though of me putting them together and things like that, and putting together a peony as well that I did for a cake this weekend. Just really trying to up my content at the minute, and hopefully one day I'll be able to switch over to just being a content creator and not take orders anymore. And don't shoot me, the people that order from me, but that'd be nice, be a bit less stressful than taking orders. Anyway, I'm rambling. If you watch my videos, then you know that's what I do best. So it is absolutely boiling here in the UK at the minute. It's over 30 degrees. It's vile. I've got cakes due the end of this week, so hopefully by then it's going to have cooled down a little. and I won't have to cake in the heat like I did last week. And honestly, I don't think my nerves could take another delivery in that heat, even though I had the aircon full blast. Or would you call it full blast? Do you call it full blast when you're having it really low temperature? I don't know. Rambling again. So I had the aircon super low, but it was still a fraught delivery, and I don't want to do that again. We're not used to it here in the UK. I know people in hotter countries will go, well, you know, it's just a bit of hot weather, but we're not used to it here. We're not prepared for it. We don't have houses with aircon. We've got an aircon unit in our house, but they're portable, and I don't have them on all the time because I always worry about how much it costs, and I really should use them a bit more. Look how beautiful that pattern looks there. Now I'm done rambling about aircon units, you know, and how hot it is here in the UK at the minute. That pattern, just the depth on the effect with the bark really comes out so beautifully with this impression mat. I really like it. It was a bit more expensive than a couple of the others you could have got on there, like the generic brands, the own brand sort of ones. But I do think it was worth it personally, even though I had to like deface it to get it how I wanted it. I do think that it was worth it. Some of them, the moulds are really deep. That was another thing I did notice. The moulds, some of the other bark moulds are really deep on there, and they're just not ideal. I don't want a really deep. My panels are going already on a fondant covered cake, so I don't want to have this situation where I'm then forced to put a thick layer of bark on. Now you've got one here where I've really pushed the stretch. This is just showing you the different ways you can do this. I've dried this one for a little longer, and then I also rolled out the the extra sheet that we made right at the beginning of the video. I rolled that out after it dried as well, because it's got that bit of modelling paste in. Sorry, because it's a 50-50 mix of modelling paste and sugar paste or fondant, wherever you're from. Look at my tan line where I wear my watch. I'm sorry, I'm so badly distracted. I'm sorry. Because we've got that mixture, it won't dry really hard. There we go, punching the impression mat again. It won't dry really hard. So I loved how this came out with that extra pressure. I really forced the break, but that's the wonderful thing about this technique. You can really customize it for how you want it to look. You don't have to have what you're given. If you want a more gentle break, if you want a bigger colour contrast, you can use a white on top of the brown, on top of the thicker stuff that we used underneath. You could use a white or a very pale cream, and you would get a really big contrast. You could use a black and a grey, or, you know, the colour combinations are endless, and it doesn't have to be a bark effect that you use at the end. And to be honest, you don't have to use the bark impression either. You can see there, you can easily get away. I'm showing you now, look. I knew that was coming, I know. You can get away with not doing the bark impression if you wanted to. I did. That's the look I was going for on this cake, as you can see from the lovely pictures. But you don't have to, and I do like the versatility of that. That's a good word, isn't it? The versatility. I sound all special and all clever, and I'm really not. So yeah, we're really just working with what we've got here, and if you like it, please do leave me comments. If you don't, just walk on by, you know, don't be mean. This is how I've done it. You don't have to do it like this. If there's videos you want to see, that you want me to see, do or try or whatever, or maybe you've been on my social pages, my Instagram, my TikTok, my Facebook and my email are all linked down below for you. If you want to make contact, please do. If you try out any of my techniques, please tag me on socials. I love to see what you guys have done with my videos and such. But if there's something you want to see me try, or that you're not sure about doing, and you think I might be able to help, I will try my best. Let me know. Hit me up with some inspo, because you know, I've got bills to pay. But it's hard to think of new ideas and concepts constantly if it's not something that I'm creating specifically for a cake. So it'd be nice if you've got any ideas of what you'd like to see me do next. Please let me know in the comments, or drop me an email, anything, and I'll be happy to try and help. I'll try. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not. I can't do everything. I've been doing it a while, but I can't do everything. So yeah, we're now finishing up these panels, and I think I did a little quick video of me applying them to the cake as well. Now I did fully cover my cake first. If you wanted to, you could just cover the top and then use the panels on the side, but for peace of mind and ease of application, etc., I preferred to cover the cake first. And it also means that you're really locking in that moisture and everything inside the cake by putting that extra layer of fondant on as well. Obviously people can always pick the decor off if they don't want too thick a fondant, and I'm sure the kids loved that there was that extra bit there. I'm just forcing the last little bit to be big enough for my piece there. I also used some of the leftovers to make teeny tiny love heart cake toppers for the cupcakes that they had that went with the cake. They didn't ask me to do that, but they did ask me to do the cupcakes. They didn't ask for the little toppers. It just really went really nicely, and to be honest, this bride was so easygoing and so easy to work with that she sort of left everything up to me, and she was quite happy to leave everything to me. So that was really, really nice. So now I'm going to show you how I quickly, it is a time lapse, this was on my TikTok and my Instagrams as well, of me covering the cake. That's my ganache covered cake using my Pro Froster. There's a couple of videos of me using the Pro Froster on my page. And I do also do the upside down technique for sharp edges, which is obviously made much, much easier by the fact that it's ganache underneath. And you can see those sharp edges really coming in dead easy there. And then we're ganaching the bottom of the board, putting it on the final board and putting the central dowel in, and then flipping it over again. I spend a lot of time flipping cakes around. So there's what we started with. That's the cake. And then we pop the next tier on as well. And that's it. It did have a third tier as well. I will show you the picture of it at the end. I didn't put that on at home. I did just dowel the middle cake, but I didn't put it on because it's a fruit cake. So I've covered the board as well. I know in America it's not common to cover the board. In Britain it is really common, and it's definitely something that most of us will do, especially for a wedding cake. It just finishes the cake in my opinion. Seeing a silver board at the bottom, really just, I don't like the look. So I sort of started out, I applied the first panel, and I sort of like to apply, always start from the front when applying anything like this. It's a bit nerve-wracking because you're like, oh, I want to start at the back so I can get my eye in, sort of thing, and then work round to the front. But if you do that, you're going to end up with any small gaps or anything at the front, and you don't want that. So start at the front, put one on in the middle, and then work out from each side equally. So you should come to the back equally from each side. You're not going round in a circle from one point. I hope I'm making sense, and I hope you'll see in the video that makes sense, because I don't feel like I'm making sense talking. I feel like I'm just rambling like I always do. Rah! Anyway, so starting, and I decided to overlap the panels slightly because when I placed them together, I just didn't like the way they buttered up, so I went for an overlap with them. And you can see I'm mix and matching the panels that have got a bit more texture to them versus the panels that are a little bit darker and not quite so textured. I'm making words. You see what I do? I love you guys so much. I'm making words up for you. So anyway, we're applying these panels. We're doing a great job. We've doweled our bottom tier. Have I made a video? No, that's on my to-do list of how to dowel for a wedding cake. So I will get that put out next time I do a wedding cake for you. I think mid-August, if you're watching this when it first uploads. So you might, if you've not, you might already be there. Go look. But I will do a full video of how I dowel. I use the clock method when I dowel, and I do put a lot of dowels in, and you can come at me for it, but it's steady. My cakes are sturdy, and I always use a central dowel as well. Obviously some people use a wooden central dowel. I use a plastic one. The one I use is called a sturdy cake stacker. I'll see if I can link it for you. I don't know if they're available on Amazon though. But I'll try and link it for you. My finger then was me testing if the cake was still sticky from the steaming. If it's not still sticky, then you need to re-steam it, but you don't want to over steam it because it makes it really slippy, and then the panels could slip down and not stand properly, because as you can see when I move them, they are still a little bit soft, and that's fine. And then and you can see there where the middle tier You can see at the very top of it, the circle I've marked, that is where the top tier goes on, and that's where I'm going to pop my dowels in after this. Just using a little bit of water there just to adhere the edges. Just being extra cautious because this cake had to travel, I think it was nearly an hour, over an hour actually, to the venue. And I travelled with the middle and bottom tiers stacked already. I had to carry them up a set of stairs. They never told me that it was upstairs. And I got there and I was like, no, I'm going to carry it up the stairs. It's so freaking heavy. I said freaking for any police out there. Not police, but you know what I mean, like YouTube police. So yeah, I had to carry it up a set of stairs. I wasn't impressed. But and where the bottom tier and the top tier, or sorry, bottom and middle tier meet, I'm going to pop a Hessian ribbon around. I sourced mine, I think, on eBay, but I'll try and link some for you, because I know that's quite often a case. You know, people go, oh, I really need to get that. Where did you get that? So I'll try and link some Hessian ribbon for you as well. I used Sugar Flare cream to colour my fondant before I covered my cakes, and I'll link that for you down the bottom as well, because that comes out really, really nice. It sort of gives it, I'd call it what professionals would call Tuscan, not Tuxen, that's a car. Tuscan, where it's basically a 50-50 mix of ivory and white sugar paste. I don't generally buy in ivory sugar paste because it's not a very common popular colour these days. It can look quite yellow in photos as well, especially if the bride or brides are in white. Then it really does make the colour look very, very yellow. So the cream comes off a lot more softer. It's not got as many yellow undertones in it. So that goes on much nicer. In case you're wondering as well, when I put my Hessian ribbon on to attach it to the cake, didn't actually attach it directly to the cake. I put it around the cake and then I used hot glue to attach it together. And I popped a bit of greaseproof paper between the cake and the Hessian ribbon, and then hot glued it, and then pulled that out once the hot glue had gone off, which takes seconds. And then the ribbon was attached to itself and not attached to the cake at all. No pins or anything like that. I did a delivery this weekend of a different cake, and the caterer said to me, oh, there's not any pins in your cake, is there? I was like, pins? You mean like pins, like what you'd use to sew with? I realised you didn't ask for my life story, but you're getting it anyway. Sorry. And they were like, yeah, we cut a cake up last weekend and there were pins in it. I was like, right, okay. It's quite an old-fashioned technique to use pins to attach things into the cake. I don't do that. I don't know anyone that does do it. So there you have it, all finished, all applied. And here's how it looked at the end. Beautiful, I think you will agree. We've got the little love heart on the top there as well. Used the same technique to make that, just used a love heart cutter. And that's a little close-up for you as well. I think it came together really nicely. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll try and link everything I used for you. And yeah, let me know if there are any other things or techniques or anything that you'd like to see, maybe that you've seen on my Instagram page. There are the cupcakes. I don't know why it's a rubbish photo taken in my kitchen and not the proper one I took. I don't know. But anyways, and here is the picture of the full and complete cake. This isn't my original design. I believe it's by Buttercup Cakes. Well, loosely based on her design. But anyway, thank you for watching. And yeah, drop a message in the comments. Let me know what you thought. Bye.